Well, I remember the divestment just taking the law school community by storm, and that it was a really empowering time. There were a couple of professors who were involved in that action, and there were kind of lots of different student groups that were involved. I'm sure that I can't remember. Was it BALSA, Black Law Students Association? I'm sure it was BALSA that took the leadership. Oh, that's right, because there was a libel joke, BALSA, salsa. I mean, there were lots of groups that had Law Student Association at the end of them. But we felt like it was just such a place where we could use, the thing that's so astounding about law school, right, is you really do learn how to argue and how to make your voice heard, and you understand the processes. And, it was such an issue that where we felt that we could, make a difference and trying our best to explain to whatever the law school governing body was that's not where our money should be, that we all just understood we didn't want to be the beneficiaries of that system. And as I reread those articles, I had remembered the one kind of big protest where we all walked down to the regents meeting, but then that we followed it up a month later, and we're kind of keeping on it, really just shows that it was pretty dear to our hearts. I mean, I think we all felt pretty strongly about it, and felt like it was something that we could advocate for and make change.
Can you just talk a little bit about sort of what the goal was with these protests about divestment?
Well, the boards and funds and whatnot were all being asked to divest from stock that was owned in that supported South African companies. It's kind of shocking to think that the apartheid regime was still growing strong so very recently, as the 1980s, but there was a nationwide movement to try to use economic pressure to help encourage the government to change its systems. And with de Klerk's death just a week or two ago, who was the president of South Africa at that time, there was lots of articles about that, and he thought he was going to be able to manage this. He thought he was going to be able to manage moving away from apartheid in a way that would have looked a lot more like Jim Crow America, and he wasn't quite expecting that things would advance so far. So that was the goal, and we see it now. There's efforts in some campuses to divest from Israeli companies, for example. But at that time it was, I could be wrong on this, but I perceived that it was a new form of protest. It was not something that had been done before, trying to use those economic levers.
And it's something you went to the Board of Trustees about. Reading that speech was really cool, because I have not heard of a student that's had an opportunity to do that in recent years. So I wondered, could you talk a little bit about what that was like to present to the board, and were they receptive to you, or were they not interested in hearing?
Well, now apparently I didn't give that speech because I wrote it, but somebody else read it, which was clear from the notes. Like on the side, I remember speaking to the law school and to a packed auditorium. There was one main auditorium where we would have where the first year kind of orientation happened, and it was packed. And I have never felt that before, in terms of just the power of an audience, and that opportunity to have people cheer and repeat. And I was on the path towards litigation anyway. But that power to kind of sway an audience through rhetoric, I just remember it as one of the highlights of my law school career was that whole day, and the speeches, and then participating in those speeches, and the energy in that room. It was pretty fantastic.